Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shimte Jayapata Swaminati Namne Nama Charipadaya Nitai Krupa Pradaya Nikora Katha Damdaya Nagaram Tarni Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshtarni Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So yes, chapter 15, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Yes, next slide. Okay, in chapter 14, yesterday we saw it describes the three modes of material nature which restrict and control a soul to his field of activities, right? We saw how everyone is conditioned. Mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance makes us behave in a particular way, and we identify ourselves with the body completely. Okay, then next slide. To chapter 15 describes the varieties of fields in all the three planetary systems. So because we are restricted by the field of activities, mode of goodness, higher planetary systems, then mode of ignorance, lower planetary systems, like that. So here it describes those fields and using the comparison to a banyan or ashwatha tree. And it also describes the varieties of field of activity situated on the higher and lower branches of the tree. Okay, so that is what we are going to see in this. Yes, next slide. So verses 1 to 7, the banyan tree of this material world is analyzed from 1 to 5. Then what is the nature of the spiritual world? And though part of the eternal spiritual supreme Lord and having his qualities, the living entity, due to conditioned life, are struggling very hard in the material world. So that is the, what do you call, controversy, or you can say, even though we are part of that Supreme Lord who's so great, we are struggling here in this material world. Okay, next. Okay, so we see what is this banyan tree all about? He describes the upside down, sorry, and the upside down banyan tree of the material world. So there is, he's talking about a banyan tree which is upside down, and that is representing the material world, and it reflects the reality of the spiritual world. So why should it be upside down? I mean, we have seen how a banyan tree by the side of a lake, and then what do you see on the water? You see the tree's reflection, and that reflection is upside down. So because this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, it is exactly opposite. I mean, it is upside down. And here the comparison is made. Leaves are the Vedic hymns. Because till now, he has not spoken anything about the Vedas. Now we'll come to know what is the relevance of the Vedas. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So, as reflection rests upon water, this upside down tree rests upon the material desires of the living entities. So see the comparison. Because this reflection is not a permanent thing. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. And only if the water body is there, then that reflection rests on that. In the same way, this upside down material tree is resting on our desires, material desires. Only because we have material desires, we have this illusion. When the material desires are not there, then there is no reflection. You are there in the spiritual world. So that is why it is called, that's the comparison. Okay. Yes. Next slide. The tree has many offshoots and trunks, complicated and intertwined. So we know how a banyan tree, one banyan tree grow, and then so many, it just spreads like anything. A big forest comes out of it. So it has many offshoots and trunks and complicated and intertwined. And that is how this material world is. Cannot see its beginning or end. Is my voice breaking?
No, Mataji, it's very clear.
Okay. So cannot see its beginning or end. The soul situated on this tree is trapped going from branch to branch, enamored with the taste of its fruits and berries. So this is how we are this illusory thing, which is upside down, and in all the branches, we're just going from one branch to another. And we are enamored with the taste of its fruits and berries. And we'll see what are those fruits and berries. And okay, next. Next slide. Okay, this tree is nourished by the three modes like water. Just like a tree needs water, the three modes of material nature is what is keeping this illusion alive, this reflection alive. Different branches give different material bodies. So there are lower and higher branches, we'll see that, and they are give rise to different types of material bodies with specific senses attracted to twigs or sense objects. So the end of the branches are considered to be the senses, and the objects of the senses are the twigs. So this is how, so like how in our body, we have the senses, and the senses are connected to the sense objects. That means we have eyes, then sight is the sense object, the act of seeing. So in the same way, the twigs are compared to the sense objects, and the tips of the, the branches are considered to be the senses. Living entity goes from higher branches of demigod life to lower branches of animal life. So in the Ashwatha tree, see the reflection, the roots are going upward. Okay, when you see in the water, you'll see that the branches are immediately there in front of your eyes. And then the roots are going down. So, and in the banyan tree, you have roots going up and down. I mean, in the proper banyan tree, not the reflection, real banyan tree, you have roots coming down, right? And so there are so many roots. And so the reflection, so there are higher and lower branches, and those branches the lower branches are, human, this thing, earthly planets, and then lower planets and or animal life, all this. Reflection may not be factual, but it is indicative of reality. So seeing this reflection, we can guess that, okay, it is a reflection. That means the reality is there. So that reality also has all these varieties. Here, it's only a reflection, but there it is reality, and it consists of all these varieties. Varieties of living entities, varieties of forms, and everything is there. Experience of material world and its varieties indicate existence of real spiritual world. So it's not like the Mayavadis that there is no variegatedness in spiritual life. According to them, all this matter comes from Brahman. And but they don't understand that beyond Brahman is the positive side, the Saguna Brahman. They only stop with zero. They don't go to the plus. From minus, they go to zero and stop. But there is plus side also. Okay. Yes. Can you go to the next? Okay. Seeking pleasure, the living entity is entrapped. Why is it going? Why is the living entity going from branch to branch? because it is looking for some pleasure. Okay, in this body, some pleasure, another body, another pleasure. All the time we are, and so we are completely engrossed in that and entrapped in that. And the karma is accumulated in the planet of human beings. Only on the earth, you do pious activities, then you go to heavenly planets. You do sinful activities, you go to hellish planets. And once your karma is finished, you have to come back to the earth. And here is where you actually earn your karma. So that is one thing. And one who follows Vedas can elevate himself on this tree. So that is the purpose of the Vedas. Vedas are meant to elevate elevate us to go to the higher planetary systems. So the branches are 15.2. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. So the branches are going down also, coming down, just to indicate lower planetary systems. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. So everything, yeah. Okay, next. The real form of this tree cannot be seen in the reflection, because the roots on the other end cannot see its extent, because the root is going downward, so you don't know from where it is starting. And because it is upside down, this reflection, so the root, it is starting from the root, the topmost, because the lower branches are the branches on the top, and below is where Brahmaloka is, right there, where the roots are. And you don't know to what extent, because you cannot see in the reflection where it starts from. But the reflected tree must be cut down. So even though he's saying, Krishna, let me read the words. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything is extended since time immemorial. So when we are born, we don't know, what is the extent and all that. What is this material world and so on. And similarly, even Lord Brahma, when he was created, he just saw there are some planetary systems going up and down. So he was going down the lotus stem, which consists of all the planets, and he went down and up, and he was trying to figure out what is this. So nobody can find out where it ends, where it begins, what its foundation is. And then he heard the words from Lord Vishnu, Tapa, do tapasya. And when he did tapasya for 1,000 years, then he understood. Oh, then he understood Krishna. He could see him in the spiritual world. So here he is telling us, and normally we are not even bothered. What is this? Most people aren't even aware that there are higher planetary systems, lower planetary systems. There is reincarnation. There is the soul. What is happening? They are not bothered, or they don't even know all these things. And they are just happily going from branch to branch while they are there, just enjoying themselves. So Krishna is saying that if you want to know, because when you see all the problems and suffering and all, then you become enlightened, and then you want to inquire, why I'm suffering? Why should I suffer here? And then, so that is why Krishna is saying the determination, even though we can't find out, but through tapasya and through, thereafter, first of all, you should become detached, and then thereafter one must seek that place. So you have to seek. If you want spiritual understanding and knowledge, you have to seek out the sadhus, the shastra, everything. Then you have to seek out that place from which, having gone, one never returns. So if you want to know about the spiritual world, you have to seek out. You have to look for a guru. You have to look for this knowledge. And then once you've gone there, surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Okay. Yes. Next slide. And then, so we see Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of this tree, because he's saying you should surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began. So he is the origin of this tree. And how can we know him? Known through the association of devotees. Learn the spiritual science based on scriptures. Surrender to him by hearing, chanting, etc. So third as well as fourth, both the verses together is what I read. So this is what we should do. And he's talking about detachment. How do you become detached? Through attachment to Krishna. That is a positive thing in bhakti, that the minute you start chanting Hare Krishna and rendering, hearing about Krishna and hearing the scriptures, you do some devotional service, have prasadam, then gradually what happens is you're getting a superior taste, and automatically detachment sets in. There was we had one lady, she was coming to our programs, and she was very, they were quite well off and all that, and she was very attached to buying a lot of gold jewelry and dressing up very nicely, going for, European holidays and all these things. Then when she started attending the programs and so on, she got a higher taste, that she said, oh, I've never been, to my hometown for a holiday. And she became, she was not so attached to so much jewelry and things. She started dressing more simply. And then she started visiting her hometown for vacation. And then she started telling people also about Krishna consciousness. So it was amazing how the change happened. Within a matter of few months, she got this higher taste just by rendering service to people, taking care of children, and, talking to people, because she got involved in also giving this knowledge to others, and preaching at home, to inviting friends and telling them. So she got such a higher taste that she thought, automatically this detachment came. So she didn't try to one day think that, okay, I'm going to not wear this. Not like that. Automatically, very naturally, you get a higher taste, then you become detached. Giving up lordship over material nature. So this is the main thing that we have to do. What is the detachment? Wanting to detachment from wanting to be the lord over material nature. We want to lord it. Everything should listen to me, and I should be able to control everything. So we have to choose a way, own way or God's way. Which one we want to head? Only spiritual world is permanent settlement. So we may try to think, okay, we have some power and all that. We may become very attached to it and start controlling, and we feel great. I'm like God. See, everything, everybody is listening to me. So that's why people are hankering for positions, because positions make you think like, you have some control and everyone. And then there's really, some people become intoxicated with position and power. But for how long? And anyway, because of that, all the problems come because of this lauding tendency. Because everybody has got lauding tendency. So if one person has, then other also, they won't keep quiet. Then there'll be some challenge, and somebody else will, try to overthrow you or cause problems for you. So there is so much pain and anxiety, or there are limited positions, and everyone is hankering for that. So they try to topple each other, kill them. We saw how recently, just 45, days ago, when, there's a heavy, this thing, conspiracy in how that actor was killed. So like this, you want to be something in this material nature, that it's all problems happen because of this lauding tendency. So that is why we have to come to our senses and dovetail everything in Krishna's service. Then we will be protected and also peaceful. Yes. And we won't misuse our positions and whatever. Yeah, okay, next. Then qualification required to surrender. That's in the 5th verse, I think. Yes, 5th verse, Krishna talks about what are the qualifications required to surrender. I'll first read the verse. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So, the first thing is those who are free from false prestige. Why do we have false prestige? Because of pride. We are very proud and we want to be like a lord and a controller in this world. We want everyone to speak very highly of us and look up to us. So that is because of pride. And but on the other hand, when we come to because of that, all problems, just to maintain some status quo, just to maintain a kind of an image to the outside world, we have to do so many things. Somebody may, like for example, in the Western world, they have to keep on changing furniture and new things. They have to keep on changing every 2 years. Otherwise, people will ridicule. They will laugh at you and say, "What is this? Why he's so stingy?" or whatever. So just to keep up that show, they have to work, and then they take loans also. There is no savings. All this just for pride, just to show I'm very well off and I'm see, I can afford this, and so on. So it's all based on false prestige. And then also delusion caused by pride of being a lord and controller of this world, freed from lust to enjoy this material world. So this frees us one from false association. Because we want to enjoy this world, then we also look for people. I mean, you'll come up with such people. Those who want to enjoy this world, those are the people will be your associates. And we will find out that this is just false, because it's not based really on true love or true relationships. It's as long as the going is good, we enjoy, fine. Once the enjoyment stops, finished. There is no relationship, and then there is a lot of envy, heartburn, so many things. So when we are free from that lust, freed from dual conceptions of happiness and distress, pleasure and pain, too much attached to happiness, or too much affected by distress, too much seeking pleasure, and just cannot tolerate any pain, these sort of things, then we are balanced. Then one can cultivate spiritual knowledge, understand things as they are. As they are, meaning this world is temporary and the soul is eternal, and then who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? All these things we should understand. Most people are not aware even of all these things. And then we will know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person and attain the eternal spiritual kingdom. So, yeah, okay. Next slide. So that was 5. And then in 6 and 7, now Krishna is going to tell us what is this spiritual world. Because he has said, you have to surrender unto the Supreme Person in order to attain that eternal kingdom. So he's saying, that supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon or fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So he is telling by things that we are familiar with, we can understand. So he's saying spiritual world is illuminated by Brahma Jyoti. There is just, everything is luminous. Like here, only the sun is luminous. Over there, all planets are luminous. So there is no need of, sun or moon or fire or electricity. We know that the sun, these things are the most important for us in the material world, right? If the sun is not there, we can't even see anything. We won't become warm. And then if it is too hot, heated up sun, and their cool, soothing rays of the moon are not there in the night, then we'll be very much disturbed. And if fire is not there, we can't even cook, or industries cannot run without fire or electricity. So he is saying that these things are so important for us. In the spiritual world, all these are not at all required. Everyone is liberated and enjoys eternal blissful life. And they are full of knowledge. And that knowledge is, who is Krishna, who am I, what's my relationship. So they know everything. See, once you're liberated and you're in the spiritual consciousness, then everything, just like when the sun comes, there is no darkness. You can see everything, you can understand everything. Similarly, that darkness is only here in this material world because Krishna is hidden. The minute we understand Krishna, then everything, full of knowledge, and you can enjoy because Krishna is so blissful. And we should be starting from that. When people heard, what it is like in America, and there you can really, there is so much of opportunity, and you can make lots of money, and how it looks, and so many things. And then what people got so captivated by this information, then they started planning for it, right? All there, right from what to this thing prepare, and then how, so that you can apply for those universities, and how to get a job and stay there. So when you're captivated by the information, you'll start planning. So, and then association, yes, you look for people who knows, association of people who knows about America, whose relatives have gone there, or they themselves have gone there, or something. And then we can, then we become very, attached to that, and we make all the, whatever necessary things to go there. So similarly, by hearing about this spiritual world, which is eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge, happiness, and there are also our form. We all have forms which is similar to the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord, we know Krishna, and then his multifarious expansions are there. Vishnu Tattvas, any of those planets we can go to. We have a place there. We don't have to go there and look for a house or job, place to stay. We already have. We belong there. We've just temporarily come here. So the minute we again look for this knowledge, oh, actually, what is that place I came from? I don't even know. Where, so you inquire, and then you find out, oh, this is how the Lord looks, and this is how he is. These are the activities there. This is how, because the Lord himself keeps on coming here in his avatars and leaves behind all those things, knowledge, which is there in all the Puranas and so on. So hearing that, we should be captivated. Oh, imagine how wonderful it is. There is no birth, death, old age, disease for sure. Everything is, and body is very beautiful, always young, and like this, and no negative thoughts, nothing. All the misery and suffering, and you don't have to go to a factory to work, or any job for that matter. You don't need to do all that at all. You're just happy all the time. I mean, you serving the Lord, giving him love, and that also full freedom. Whatever you want to serve, you can serve. There is no, like you have to do this thing. Complete freedom Krishna gives. So full freedom. And when we hear about all this, we should be captivated. Oh, and then we should, by association of the devotees here, one can become attached to devotional service. We start training. Okay, what will I be doing in the spiritual world? Oh, I'll be serving the Lord. Then, okay, I will start practicing it here. Otherwise, how we can go there? I mean, if we don't know how to serve him, then, we don't even have a liking for serving, we won't be allowed there. So we start practicing. Just like to go to America, people are ready, no, oh, what all do I have to do there? And people are planning and preparing themselves. So likewise, we have to go there, and then by associating with the devotees here, one can become attached to the devotional service. can extricate oneself from false reflection of reality and transfer oneself to the spiritual world. So this is what it requires. First of all, find out about this place from people who know and practice all those things that they tell you and they are themselves practicing. Then we can extricate oneself from this false reflection of reality. So we have, and then that is the thing, we have to, once you know the truth, then you cannot pretend as if this reflection is the reality. You can no longer pretend. This is not true at all. So automatically you will start living a real life based on not too many wants and desires from the body, because I'm not this body. I have to maintain this body nicely so that I can make progress. So that for whatever is required you do, but not unnecessary things. There is enough for everybody's need in this world, but there is not enough for everybody's greed. That is why people are suffering, because people are greedy. If everyone just took whatever they required for their happy living, comfortable, then where is the need for scarcity or all kinds of wars, and all these things are not required at all. No need of competition, fights. So many things can be avoided. So that is all because people are under the illusion and attached to all false kinds of things. Okay, next. Then in 15.7, as parts of Krishna, all living entities are eternal, belong only with Krishna in his abode. Now they are unnaturally captivated by Maya and seeking pleasure with their senses, but forced to struggle and suffer. So this is the amazing thing, that even though we belong to Krishna, and where, imagine, we are as great as Krishna in quality. We have a similar form of Krishna. We have all this Satchidananda form, and we are not affected by material nature. We are full of bliss and knowledge and so on. And there is no question of any suffering in there. And now, because of being captivated by Maya and seeking pleasure with our senses, we are forced to struggle and suffer while planning with their minds for future pleasures. This is what we are constantly engaged in, constantly looking for, in the future, what will I get? All the time people are focused on that. Now I've got this, now what am I? All the time they have these targets to achieve. But so there's no time to enjoy, right? People are so busy working, they don't even have time to eat proper food or spend some, even enjoy what they have earned for. So that is how. But when liberated, one can enjoy association of the Supreme Lord once again. And also, once we know that the Supreme Lord is maintaining everything, then we will know that, okay, I will do my duty, but everything is given actually. He is maintaining me. So we will not neglect that aspect. Right now, what is happening is, yes, we have to do our work, duty to maintain ourselves, but they completely ignore the person behind, who's controlling, who's supporting and maintaining us. That is the problem. In the third chapter also, we saw how Krishna said, you must perform yajnas, because only the yajnas can take care of you. You'll get everything by the mercy of either the devatas or directly to Krishna. Then the devatas supply. Even if you do yajna, like we are doing Sankirtan yajna or Japa yajna, Krishna is satisfied. All the devatas are also satisfied and they give you everything. But you should do your job. It's not that you just do yajnas and keep quiet, but without their sanction and mercy, you're not going to get. And that is what the modern, this thing is completely we are not at all taught anything about all this. Only just work hard with the material things. And so when liberated, one can enjoy association of the Supreme Lord once again. 15.7, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. And then, yes, so let us wake up to our real identity and life. Real identity and life would be blissful. Even here, if we wake up to our real identity and we understand, okay, the body is still there, but I'm not this body, I'm actually the soul. So it's like driving a car. You're going in the car, you don't think you're the car. You know that I'm the driver and the car is separate from me. Then it is very nice. But some people become actually very attached to their cars that sometimes they really think they are the car, and they take so much care to take, they are very, very attached to their cars. And they also, especially if the car is very expensive, you can see that they'll drive very slowly and far away from the car ahead of them. And they're very, very sensitive because they don't want any scratches. And not only that, anything happens, one scratch also, they'll blow the top off. I'm so much attached because it's like you think you are the car. So, but normally people who are quite intelligent, they don't get attached to their cars, and they know, and this is only my car. Okay, some dent comes, so what? Okay, I'll repair it. You don't get so affected by it like that. Then life is blissful. Just one conscious decision we have to make, and that is, I belong to Krishna. You make the decision, then life will be blissful. You can see things as they are and not be too much affected or suffering so many things in this world. We see in the picture how the people going on top, and here we are struggling with all our fruitive activities. What are the berries and fruits that we are eating? Those are results of our karma. And then when somebody is doing all this yoga, tapasya, then you can go to the higher planets and then finally to the Supreme Lord. Okay, yes, next. Verses 8 to 15. Living entities transmigrating from one body to another, searching for pleasure. Transcendentalists can see this, but materialists cannot. Knowledge of Krishna's opulence, and he's our maintainer on both the cosmic and personal levels, and his position as the compiler of the Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas should attract us to him. Okay, next. Next slide. So this is about transmigration. Krishna says, the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So we have a subtle body, and that is what gives us a next body, because all the desires and everything is there in the subtle body. Mind is a storehouse of all our desires and karmas. Everything is there. And so that is the thing which determines what body we will get. Just like air carries aromas, and that so the soul carries the subtle body, but the subtle body is not the soul. Just like air carries the aromas, but that is not the scent of the air, right? So there is a difference between the air and the scent. In the same way, there is a difference between the soul and the subtle body. Soul is trapped in a body, and mind exhibits different modes. And so we are taken from one body to the next according to these different conceptions of life that we have in the mind. That is why so much stress is given to the mind, controlling the mind, and so on, because the mind is the one which decides what body will get. So the soul is trapped in the body and mind exhibits different modes, but is actually aloof from them. The soul is aloof from the body and the mind. Mind's desires create a gross body. So if we want to elevate ourselves, we have to elevate our mind also. If we degrade our mind, we'll get a degraded body. Then gross body obtains a certain type of senses grouped about the mind to enjoy with. So Krishna says the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So if we have degraded our mind to like an animal, then we'll get those kinds of senses which can enjoy that particular type of, activities. So the more we get elevated and more refined or in the mode of goodness, then we get actually in the heavenly planets, it's not a gross body, it's more subtle. So like this, our desires and based on our karma, we obtain a certain type of senses grouped about the mind to enjoy with. Okay. So this is change is inevitable in the material world. We have to change, right? The body has to change. Everything keeps changing. But are we changing and rising, or are we changing and falling? That is the thing. So we have to do all activities, our association, our work, everything should be one by which we keep rising. And even in this on this earth, in this life also, we see that if you elevate your modes, if you go from ignorance to passion to goodness, automatically everything changes. You become more efficient in the mode of goodness. What happens? You're more self-controlled. You're more intelligent. Intelligence starts working. Intelligence doesn't work when we are very clouded with all kinds of desirable thoughts, of enjoyment. Or a person in the mode of ignorance also, he's very dull and groggy. He also cannot exercise his intelligence. So even in this earth, we see that we need to keep on rising our consciousness. And what to speak of next birth also. Even if you don't make it to the spiritual world, at least you'll rise and go to the heavenly planets. It's better, not demoted. We shouldn't get demoted and go to either animal kingdom or go to the lower planetary systems. That's very bad. Okay, next. Next slide. Yeah. And those who lack knowledge are blinded by their senses, and so attached to material happiness and distress, unable to distinguish matter from spirit. So this is what most people don't even believe. They're so much engrossed. They think they are these bodies, and they're so much, just engrossed in gratifying their senses without even thinking. And the material happiness and distress completely involves them. So they can't even distinguish matter from spirit. But self-realized souls can see how the soul is transmigrating. Most people think, I don't believe in all this reincarnation, especially those who are too materially attached. Like in today's world, a lot of sense gratification, and they say, hey, do anything. I don't believe in next life, right? So many people say that. But one can see Krishna, but a self-realized soul can see that. One can see Krishna in his opulent material manifestations and be attracted to him. So that is what we are going to see. Wait, 15.11. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. Okay. Then we are going to see in 15.11 or Krishna's opulent material manifestations, and we can be attracted to him. Yes, next slide. So Krishna says, what are the things that come from him? From me, from Krishna comes splendor of the sun, splendor of the moon, splendor of the fire. We know how useful sun is, and what a, the sun is the source of all life in this universe. And we can see how bright it is, and and the moon, which is very soothing, and we will see what all we get from that moon. Krishna will tell us, and splendor of the fire. We are dependent on all these things, and all these things, it's coming from Krishna. Our whole material life will be defunct if we don't have the sun, if we don't have the moon, and we don't have fire. So when we understand this, then we'll become very grateful and appreciative of Krishna. Yes, next slide. From Krishna comes energy for planets to stay in orbit. So how are the planets are all floating in the sky? Can they say, how can scientists ever, I mean, they don't know how. They still, okay, they can. So we don't know how this, universes, I mean, they might tell some laws by which attraction and gravity and what force attraction between the thing, all, but who set it all up? How is it all floating in the space? And all perfect, the whole system is so perfectly functioning. So that is because Krishna has expanded himself. He explains how, as the Paramatma, he has expanded into every living entity, is into every atom, and he is as a material energy. All these things are resting on him. Everything is resting on me, he says. So all everything, the planets are all functioning, floating in space only because of him. Then he supplies juice of life to all vegetables from the moon. So why are vegetables so tasty? Each vegetable has got a unique, beautiful taste, right? So different from the other vegetable. They look also different, they taste different, they have such unique flavors and fragrances. So who's supplying all this? The moon. I mean, the moon, which is the energy of Krishna, the moon's rays is what giving the juice of life. So we should be very, very grateful. And we don't need to do, see, this is what we're supposed to eat. Krishna is supplying us such wonderful varieties. So then after that, all our basic needs are coming from Krishna. So okay, I feel safe, all the self-esteem, all our basic needs coming from Krishna. All the protection, I'm warm, dry, arid, and then psychological needs, security and safety, love and belonging, and self-esteem, self-actualization. So everything, whether it is our material, I mean, gross needs or subtle needs, all this is coming from Krishna. Krishna is, because of him, this whole society, I mean, by his mercy, we get, comfort of a family. We have food, clothing, shelter, everything, all basic needs are coming from him. Okay. He himself is saying that from me comes all these things. Okay, next. And other things he says. Krishna is the fire of digestion in the stomach, digesting along with the air of life 4 kinds of foodstuffs. So what are the 4 kinds of foodstuff we eat? Foodstuffs that need to be chewed, that need to be swallowed, that can be sucked, and that can be licked. So 4 types of foodstuffs are there. And then, so unless there is, see, modern, I mean, allopathy doesn't recognize this fire in the heat in the stomach. digesting and all that. They only talk about all these acids and all that which digest. But even with all that, if there is no fire in the stomach, it will not digest. That is why so Krishna says that I am the fire of digestion. That's why we see all heat producing things like, ginger, pepper, all these things are very good for digestion because we need heat in the thing. And Krishna says, I am the fire of digestion, digesting along with the air of life, 4 kinds of food stuff. So how much we should be grateful. He is providing all this. First of all, food for us to eat, and then he's the digestion also. Everything, he's expanding himself throughout the universe. In the cosmos, he's supplying everything. And personally also, he has come expanding himself just for us to enjoy in this material world. And situated, okay, let me read this words also. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of food stuff. So Krishna is even digesting our food. Then I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So he's saying that as Paramatma, he is the one giving us intelligence. First of all, when we are born, we don't know anything. And all the facilities to understand, different people have got different inclinations, in different fields of activity. How is it all happening? Because it is Krishna as the Paramatma who knows what we were doing in our past life. And based on that, he is, making us inclined towards different things. He is the source of all talents, all intelligence, all knowledge, continuation from our previous life. Once Srila Prabhupada, he was mentioning, because somebody was playing Ravi Shankar music to him. And he said, Prabhupada said, Ravi Shankar is also a Bengali, and so he must have known him. He knew him, I think, personally also. And he said that this is his 9th life as a musician. Imagine, so many, he's so attached to music. 9 lives, or maybe it was the 10th life, whatever. God knows where he is now, whether he is fully satiated with his music or is where he is, or a Gandharva or whatever. So how does it happen from one life to the next? You get another body, and how do you remember how does that continuation take place? That is the Paramatma who's giving the intelligence, and remembrance comes, knowledge and forgetfulness also. So we forget so many things, especially what happened in our past lives, right? Suppose we were to remember everything what happened in our past lives, we'll go crazy. So that also he saves us from many miseries. So everything is coming from Krishna. And not only that, after giving all these material facilities, then he's also thought of, okay, my poor children, once they suffer, they need, not only one, from the beginning, he wants everyone to be educated so that they can live happily in this life without suffering, and also come back to him. So he has compiled the Vedanta also, the essence of the Vedas. First of all the Vedas are also coming from him. The Vedas are in also the expansion of Krishna, and because it's come from his breathing, he is the one. The Vedas are also like an incarnation of Krishna, and by all the Vedas I am to be known. So in Krishna consciousness, what is happening? We are directly praying to Krishna. Then we already know Vedas, the essence of the Vedas, because the Vedas are, by all the Vedas, by studying the Vedas completely, they are supposed to conclude that Krishna is the origin of everything and we have to surrender to him. All the Upanishads, this is what, it says from Narayana, the Prajapatis have come from Narayana, all the Devas have come from Narayana. So they keep on talking like this, and finally, from the Vedas, then the next set of things, Upanishads, describe more about our spiritual identity. And then finally, the Puranas talk directly about the Supreme Person and so on. So I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedanta. Vedanta is also the essence of the Vedas. How is Krishna compiled it? Because Veda Vyasa is his incarnation. And he has compiled the Vedanta Sutra, knower of the Vedas, and he's the goal of the Vedas also. He knows the Vedas, and at the same time, he is the goal of all the Vedas. Vedanta Krit Veda Aham. Okay. So 12 to 15, no, all that I am seated in everyone's heart, and from, yeah, I read this. Okay. Next slide. Benefit of knowing Krishna's opulences. Awareness that for everything we are dependent on Krishna brings a profound sense of gratitude and humility. Why we should be very humble. Oh my Lord, without you I cannot exist at all. How much he is supplying us. At the cosmic level, the sun, moon, all these things, the moonlight giving and the vegetables and so on. And personally also is expanding into our, digesting the food. And then on top of this, so that we should be happy, he is giving all good knowledge in the Vedas. When we do something for others, we want to be praised. When others do for us, we think it's their duty, right? So similarly, we think Krishna's duty to do all this. We don't feel appreciate. We don't want to praise him. But Lord does everything without expectation. He is not thinking, are they saying yes? Are they glorifying me? Are they grateful to me? Anyway, he is doing it for us. That is unconditional love. So much love he has for us that he does all this. Most of us are not even aware what all he's doing. We never can be. How much love he's giving us, we can't even be aware. Just like children don't know how much the parents are doing for them. They think our parents are quite happy, everything is fine. But what a lot of sacrifices, planning, so much of headache is gone in bringing up the children. The children are not even aware, and so they don't even. They think it's their duty. Now, parents means what they have to do it. Is that the right attitude? And we also do that with Krishna. It's his duty to take care of me, and we don't know how much love has gone behind us, maintaining us in this material world. Yes. Next. Next slide. Okay, now the last verses 16 to 20. After concluding, this is the last this thing. After concluding that he is the goal of the Vedas and the compiler of the Vedanta, the Lord summarizes the Vedanta and establishes himself as the supreme. So Krishna assists souls in transcending material existence by summarizing the essence of the Vedas, Sambandha or knowledge, in verses 15, 16, 17, and 18. And in verse 19, he gives the Abhideya Jnana, the process of attaining that knowledge. And in verse in attaining the goal. And in verse 20, he refers to Prayojana or the goal. Okay, next slide. So Krishna, living beings in the material world are fallible. Independently wants to enjoy always in the material world. So that is what is fallible. How we are falling in material consciousness. Those in the spiritual world, infallible. Being one in purpose with the Lord, want to always be with Krishna, never leaves the spiritual world. So they have not fallen down here. the Lord maintaining both types of living beings. So you don't throw away your bad children like us. He's maintaining us also. Transcendental and beyond both the fallible and infallible, and the greatest. So he is maintaining everyone and is beyond both fallible, and he is the greatest. Celebrated in the world and in the Vedas as the supreme person. Yeah, so these are, yeah, it's more or less the same, so I won't read those. Though fallible, we can still achieve all success by following the supreme perfect Sri Krishna. So we don't try to make ourselves perfect because we can't. But we have the supreme perfect person, Krishna. So all we have to do, we can get all success by simply following the supreme perfect. Okay, yes. Next. One who knows Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead without doubting knows everything. And therefore, he serves him with devotion. He has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. So we should have, once we hear about Krishna, there should be no doubt at all in our mind that Krishna is a person, that he is existing in the spiritual world. He is here. He is in my heart. He is all this. He is spread all over me in the form of energies, material things, objects. He is even described what are the things representing him. So we should have absolutely no doubt at all. And so we know Krishna. Then if you know Krishna, you know everything. Therefore, because we know Krishna is the source of everything, we serve him with devotion. And he has ended all preliminary processes of understanding. All this Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Kanda, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, all these preliminary processes. We are finished with all that. We have now come to direct contact with Krishna. And we are engaging in devotional service. So that is called Abhideya, or acting on that knowledge. Yes, next slide. So that is in 15.20, he says this is the most important part of Vedic, confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. That's why it's the most important knowledge. He says, can be understood when we are free from sinful reactions. Have to overcome. So because of our sinful reactions, we're not able to understand Krishna. And that is why when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, all the sins are getting burnt. And then we can understand progressively more and more about Krishna. Then when we are progressing, we have to overcome weaknesses of heart. What are the weaknesses? One is to dominate over material nature, which can divert us from our desire to serve the Lord. These two opposite emotions are there. One is we want to dominate this world and become the greatest. And on the other hand, in our heart, we want to serve the Lord. So we should overcome this weakness of heart, lauding tendency, which makes us attached to matter and the possession of matter more and more and more. We are attached to matter, possessing it. Problems of material existence due to these two weaknesses. Understanding this knowledge will make us wise and gain perfection in all our endeavors. So if we know this knowledge, we'll be perfect in everything, whatever we do. Such an important knowledge it is. You're getting it free. Krishna is giving it no charge, no going to the university paying money or something. This knowledge, you're getting it free. And with this, all your endeavors will be perfect. Be freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Krishna says, this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Okay. So, next slide. So the verse for today is 15.7. Mamai vamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manah shashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manah shashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with six senses, which include the mind. Okay, go to the next slide. So the summary of this chapter. Krishna, using the allegory of an ashwatha or banyan tree, describes the entire material world with its varieties of field of activities situated on the higher and lower branches of the tree. This tree, being a reflection of the original tree in the spiritual world, is upside down. Being entangled in this banyan tree like material world, we are entangled. One must detach oneself from this reflection of the spiritual world, and by surrendering to Krishna, go to the spiritual world. Krishna describes Purushottama Yoga. So the first five verses were about that banyan tree. Then from 6 to 20, it's all Purushottama Yoga. Krishna describes Purushottama Yoga, Krishna's opulent position as our maintainer on both cosmic and personal levels, and his position as the compiler of the Vedanta and the knower of the Vedas. This should attract us to him. The Lord is the maintainer of both the fallible and infallible living entities in the spiritual world. One who knows Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead knows everything. Whoever knows this knowledge will become wise and will achieve all perfection. Important verses 15.1, 0.6, 15.15, and 15.7 and 15.15. Okay. Yeah, next slide. So, holy name is greater than a touchstone. This is the pastime with Srila Sanatana Goswami, who was there 500 years ago, and he was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya, one of the most, he was one of the 6 Goswamis, and the leader of the 6 Goswamis, and he has written all our many literatures, one of the chief disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has given us a lot of literature, which was all instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this pastime with Sanatana Goswami, it's about a Brahmin. He is a Shiva Bhakta, and he wanted a lot of money because he was very poor, and he had to get his daughter married and so on. So Shiva guided him, go to Sanatana Goswami, he will give you, he will solve your problem. So he came to Sanatana Goswami, who was sitting under a tree, like that, and he was just chanting japa and so on. So he went to him and he told him his problem, and he said that, can you please help me? I'm really need of this thing. So Sanatan Goswami said, okay, I can give you a touchstone. And what is the touchstone? Whatever it touches, especially iron thing, it'll make it gold. So he said, I have that, so you can make things into gold, and then your problem will be solved. So the Brahmana was so happy. Imagine, touchstone, how happy, rich I'll become. So he was so excited. Where is it? Where is the touchstone? Then Sanatan Goswami will say, there is a garbage bag, there is a dustbin there. It is there. Go and take it. So he'll go and take the touchstone from the garbage. He'll be so happy. He'll thank Sanatan Goswami and he'll start walking home. While he's walking, he'll be thinking, imagine such a valuable thing Sanatan Goswami is saying it's inside a dustbin. Why has he kept such a valuable thing in a dustbin? That means he must be having something much more valuable which he's keeping somewhere very safe. So he'll go back to him, and it agreed over took him. And so he goes to Sanatan Goswami and says that, can you please tell me why you have kept this in this dustbin. It's such a valuable thing. Do you have something better than this that is more valuable? That's why. So he said, yes, I have. I can you give it to me? He said, yes. Then he said, but Sanatan Goswami will say, to get that more valuable thing, you have to go throw this touchstone into the river and come. Then only I can give you that. So it's, oh, he is now confused. He is attached to the touchstone, and at the same time, he wants this more valuable thing. So he's very, very confused. Finally, the greed takes the better of him. So he goes and throws the touchstone and comes. And then he says, okay, please give me the better one. And then Sanatan Goswami says, I will give you the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is greater than the touchstone, because it is Krishna himself. Hare Krishna Mantra, if you have if you chant Hare Krishna Mantra, you are with Krishna and he'll take care of us. The touchstone can only give misery, because so many people will be going after you. If you have a touchstone and you're touching everything to gold, first of all, it'll create all kinds of problems and in the material world. So you can't be happy with that. But if you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then you are connected with Krishna, and Krishna will take care of us. And he already is. And then even more, we are surrendered to him. Then our life will become really glorious. So this is the thing that Sanatan Goswami told, that the holy name is greater than even the touchstone. So we are more enamored by all material things. Oh, imagine I'll earn more money if I go here. I mean, so many things are enticing us. But we should also be enticed by this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, much more than all those things. So let us chant the Panchatattva mantra 3 times and the Hare Krishna mantra also 3 times. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Like Shamanta, yes. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna. So, any questions or comments? Let me see. Yes. What is the verse 20, the most confidential knowledge? That is what it's saying. That whoever understands this is the most confidential part. He is referring to the previous verse, that because I'm transcendental, beyond both fallible and infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I'm celebrated both in the world and the Vedas as that supreme person, knowing Krishna. That's the most confidential knowledge. How he is the source of everything. He is the knower of everything. And he is the one who is maintaining us. Knowing this, we'll become wise, and all our endeavors will have be perfect. If living entities are if living entities are either fallible or infallible, how is Krishna different from other living entities? Yeah, but Krishna is above these living entities. That's what he's saying. I'm above this. I'm beyond both the fallible and infallible. And because I'm the greatest, I'm celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. How is he different? He is not certainly not fallible. He is infallible, but he is greater than both. That's what he means to say. Do the material modes only act on soul when it is trapped in the body, or they act even when our soul? No, material modes only in this. See, we saw that Ashwata tree, that reflection, that is nourished by, just like tree is nourished by water, these modes are nourishing that illusory tree. The minute we are out of that illusion, modes do not act on the soul. Oh, who took birds? Ravi Shankar, the sitarist, sitar player. What is Vedanta? Veda Anta means end of knowledge. End of the Vedas. Essence of the Vedas is in the Vedanta Sutra. So that Vedanta Sutra is God's, like Atato Brahma Jignasa, like that. It's got some sutras, codes. Because the Vedas are so elaborate and everything is codified, so that just by seeing the codes, you'll understand what it refers to. So that was compiled by Vedavyasa, who is an incarnation of Krishna himself. And the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra itself is Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's it. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have one doubt, Mataji. When the Bhagavan created this universe, so every one of us was in a spiritual world, right, Mataji?
Yeah, originally, yes.
Right. So how did that living entity, suppose I was initially with the in the spiritual world, how did I know about that there is one material world and I'd want to enjoy in that material world? How did that knowledge come to this this living entity when he was already in the spiritual world and he is enjoying and serving the Lord?
Yeah, but when you are there, you know everything. You can also, you know that material world also exists, right? Because when you are spiritual, you can know everything. So you know the material world also exists.
Oh, okay, Mother. And one more thing, Mataji, and in scriptures, it has been told that we should not differentiate between Keshava and Shiva. So is that correct, Mataji? Because there is one verse also that in Krishna's heart Shiva is there and Shiva's heart Krishna is there.
No, we should not, we must understand that Shiva is non-different from Krishna in the sense that that's what we discuss. I mean, in the spiritual world, he is one of the Vishnu Tattvas. He's an expansion of Krishna. Okay. So he is a Vishnu Tattva. But in the material world, for the sake of being in charge of the mode of ignorance and destruction and all that, he has taken this body, Shiva, which is different from that Sada Shiva. Because here, it is a little bit touch of that mode of ignorance is there. So it's not completely transcendental like Vishnu. That's why Vishnu is the supreme, because he is fully transcendental. Whereas Shiva has this thing, taken that thing. That is the thing. But you should not, put down, we have to understand the glories of Lord Shiva. Yes, we should not think.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Amit Prabhu was asking some question. Did anyone?
No, Mataji, I announced today that like whoever are from Karnataka can just raise their hands. So like two devotees raise their hands. So one is like like what was the name? I think some.
No, but you have to tell them that they can contact us.
Yeah, that I already told, but just for the information, so that
okay.
know like here how many are there. So two devotees are here, like Nupur Mataji and then I think Shruti Mataji. So they are from Karnataka. So yeah, contact you. That message kept here.
Okay. What is the question? Sometimes we are bound by targets in our job which are not avoidable. how to overcome this and remember Krishna and be conscious in that time. See, when you are working in your office, do you forget your family members? Do you forget whoever are close to you? Do you forget them? You don't, na? You may be very busy. Maybe you're not able to give them enough time sometimes, but you're waiting, no? Waiting to go back home and be with your family members, isn't it? You don't forget them because of the job. Why? Because this job is connected with them. You're working so that it's for their sake, isn't it? To keep them happy, and that you want to be happy with your family. That's why you're working. So at no time does that work take away your consciousness of them. So similarly, if you're working for Krishna, if you think that because of using some money, a portion of it to advancing in for Krishna conscious activities, or spending it for Krishna, then what happens? The work is connected with Krishna. And so even when you're busy doing all that work, you're just waiting, oh, when I go home, then I can do all these spiritual activities, I can do things for Krishna directly also. So you'll never forget him. It's just that we have to connect our work also with Krishna. Just like you never forget your family members because of work, because you're working for them. You're connected, you have attachment to them. So similarly, we should also develop our attachment, and then whatever work we are doing, we will not forget him. Is that okay? Who is it who asked? Okay. Meaning of first sloka, banyan tree comparison. When Lord Krishna is giving us the knowledge openly, why does he say it's confidential? It is because nobody, this knowledge about the soul and all, you cannot, it is not normal. Nobody is giving it. Confidential means that you can't understand it. He may give it, but to understand that, it is you have to qualify yourself. And that's why he says only my devotee can understand this knowledge. Only when we surrender to Krishna, we become his devotee. That is why it's called confidential. You can tell it. See, for example, some scientific formula you come and say to the whole world, you can say, but then only some people will understand, right? Those who know. So like that. No one from the spiritual world comes down. It is said in Bhagavad Gita and also in Bhagavatam, we have full bliss, full knowledge. So in the spiritual world, no one will be foolish to choose material life, cause they will have full knowledge of what they are getting. So all who are in the earth now must never have been in the spiritual world. See, why do you try to find this? The Supreme Lord knows what foolishness we did, why we came here. So let us leave it. Once we go there, no, you can ask Krishna. Krishna, how come when I'm here, I went there? You can ask him that question. Right now, you just, we will follow what Krishna is telling. He's saying you have gone there, you're completely bound up. Now you think about your suffering there, come back to me. So let us take that instruction. And later on, when we go there, no, we can ask Krishna. Okay. What was the other question? Okay, no, something about the Ashwatha tree, right? Can you elaborate on banyan tree as a reflection of the original tree? So the original tree represents the spiritual tree, and you imagine that is on the banks of a lake, and the reflection of the tree is falling onto the water. Now the water, I mean, that reflection is temporary because you can't always see the reflection. And that reflection is upside down of this real tree. And just like in the reflection of, I mean, the original tree is based, I mean, the requires water for the reflection. For us, from the spiritual world, why we are in the material world? Because of desires. So the desire is what is feeding our this illusory tree or the reflection tree. And also the modes of material nature are making the tree grow. And the branches are the different branches are going up and down. So the upper branches represent the upper planetary systems and the lower branches are lower planetary system. And then we are just jumping from one branch to another, just completely engrossed in enjoying the fruits of this tree, which is the fruit of results. Okay, and so the roots in the illusory tree, the reflection has got the roots going upwards, and the branches are down. So Brahma Loka starts from the roots. So that is how it is. And then so we have to cut. We should find. We don't know where it extends. I mean, what is the extent of it, where it's originating, where it's ending. So we should inquire about it. And then cut. We have to cut the tree, and we go back to the original tree. Cut the tree of illusion and go to the real tree. Okay.
Now, with your piece of bread, who can tolerate it?
I've answered all the questions. Okay.
Yeah, I think, Mataji, there is one nice question Rupamayi Vasudha Devi Mataji asked. When Lord Krishna is giving us this knowledge openly, why does he say it is confidential?
I answered it. See, confidential means because only some people can understand it. You can go and, even though anyone can read the Bhagavad Gita, but it's very confidential because it's confidential knowledge about the soul and the super soul and all that. And Krishna says only Bhaktya Mama Bijanati, only my devotee can understand this knowledge. So that is why it's confidential.
Thank you, Mataji. Thanks.
Okay. Let's stop now. Today.
Yeah, we'll just stop recording then.
Okay. Take leave. Any birthdays or something?
Yeah, Mataji, we have some prayers, Mataji, like one of, Damodar